In the previous two lectures, I have already discussed these two questions, that is how to declare and define one-dimensional array and how to access the array elements. In this lecture, I am going to discuss this question, that is how to initialize one-dimensional array. So let's get started. There are basically four methods I am going to discuss with you in order to initialize one-dimensional array. And here is method number 1. This is the way you can initialize one-dimensional array. Here there is no need to specify the data type if this array is already declared somewhere else. If this array is not declared before, then you have to specify the data type. Also, the length I have specified over here is 5. Therefore, it can accept maximum to maximum 5 elements, and here are those 5 elements. These elements are comma separated, and you have to enter these elements inside these flower brackets. Okay. Obviously, this element will go in index 0. This element will go in index 1. This element will go in index 2 and so on. Now let me give you method number 2. This method is considered to be better in comparison with this method. What is the reason behind that? Here, there is no need to specify the length. Both are exactly the same. But you can also write this without specifying the length. There is one advantage of not specifying the length. You can add as many elements you want. It is much better in comparison to this. Okay. Now let me discuss method number 3. And here is how it looks like. You are first declaring the array, and here in this case you have to specify the length. Okay. This is the only case where there is no requirement of specifying the length. But here in this case you have to specify the length. Otherwise it will produce an error. Now here one by one in these indexes I am entering these elements. This is another way of initialization. Now let me discuss method number 4 with you. And here is how it looks like. You are first declaring the array, and then inside this for loop you are accepting inputs from the user with the help of this scanf function. Those inputs will get entered inside this array one by one. This for loop runs from 0 to 4 because the size that I have specified over here is 5. All these methods are correct, but this is not considered to be a preferred method because it is quite cumbersome to mention all these indexes and then one by one entering elements in these indexes. It is quite cumbersome, right? That is why I will not prefer this method. Again, writing in this way is also not a preferred one. Instead of this, you can write in this way. Okay. Now it's time to introduce my friend Ronnie, who is a software engineer in XYZ company. He is here to ask us one question. Hey, what happens if I accidentally add less number of elements than the length specified? Let me reframe this question. What if number of elements are lesser than the length specified? That is something like this. You have specified the length as 10, but you are entering only 6 elements. What happens to the rest of the locations? The answer to this question is, the remaining locations of the array are filled by value 0. This means something like this. As you have specified the length as 10 and you have entered only 6 elements, therefore the rest of the locations will get filled by value 0. So if length is greater than the elements you have entered, then the rest of the locations will automatically be filled by value 0. Okay. Now let me give you a small tip. Instead of writing in this way, you can also write this. Here I am entering value 0 one by one from index 0 to 9. Instead of writing this whole code, you can simply write this line. Both are exactly the same. As we know, whenever we are entering the elements lesser than the length specified, automatically the rest of the locations are filled by value 0. Here I am specifying just one value 0. Rest of the entries will automatically get filled by 0. So this is an advantage. This is not a preferred method, but this one is preferred. Okay. But why not I can write in this way without even specifying the single element? Because this is illegal. You must have to specify at least one element. It cannot be completely empty. And it is also illegal to add more elements than the length of an array. You cannot write something like this. Here you are specifying the length as 5, but you are entering total 6 elements. This is illegal. You cannot add more number of elements than the length specified. Now here is a quick recap of this lecture. If the number of elements are lesser than the length of the array, then the rest of the locations are automatically filled by value 0. Easy way to initialize an array with all zeros is given by this. This is the easiest way of initializing the array with all zeros. At the time of initialization, never leave these flower brackets empty. These flower brackets, you should never leave them empty, and also never exceed the limit of number of elements specified by the length of an array. This is not allowed, and this is also not allowed. You should not exceed the limit, that is, the length specified, and you should not leave these flower brackets empty. Okay friends, this is it for now. Thank you for watching this presentation.